Thanks, Sheldon. Thanks, Kathy, for the invite and Trialogue. So let's start there. About the country. People are very worried about the country, failed state, where we're going to. And as I speak, I'll show you there's absolutely nothing to worry about. What's important is for us to remove the labels, to remove the branding, and to look at each other as human beings. Not to look at each other as government, political party, corporate, NGO sector, public sector, religious sector. Let's say, for example, we take all of us and put us in the stadium here in Wanderers, somewhere in Johannesburg. We wear the same color clothes, no labels, no branding. We won't know who is who. What we will know is that all of us in that stadium are South African. We will know that we have the same needs, be you a corporate or a street sweeper. Your needs are the same. Safety, security, food, health, water, free speech. We want all those kind of things. Take a whole lot of problems and throw it into the stadium now. How do we fix the problem? If we run to 10 different gates, it's not going to work. The only way this is going to work if we all come together and identify the problems, take them by the horn, and work together. There's no other way to fix this country. So let me give you examples of what we did over the last few years, because the best way to understand is from a direct, practical approach. In November 2016, I decided to kill all international marketing. Not the project. I just killed the marketing. Because guys like Sheldon and the media were very interested in sensational type of projects overseas. And people didn't find South African projects very interesting. I killed the international projects, and then the first major project happened on 7 June 2016, with the massive fire in Knysna. People didn't know our capability. We responded with medical teams, search and rescue teams, fire teams. We brought in 2 lady managers, and here it shows cooperation. The municipality, the mayor came to us and said, look, we're being honest, we don't know how to run a disaster. It's humility from the government. We don't laugh at that. We respect that. And we say, look, I don't have any skills, I don't have any experience. Checkers ShopRite, we called them and said, do you ever have any space to put goods in a warehouse? They said, we don't want the goods to get mixed. Tomorrow there'll be some kind of rumor against us. Take the whole car park. We said, what about your shoppers? Where are they going to park? To the credit of the corporate, they said, the car park is far more important to help the people of Knysna than to worry about shoppers now. And they gave us the entire car park. 2 women from our office were the project managers. People always ask me, do you take volunteers? I don't. My staff are all permanent. With disaster specialists. Each one's got to know what the other one's going to say before they say it. They train all the time. But the only volunteers are the medical, search and rescue, and the K9 teams, the dog handlers. Those are the volunteers. So what happened? We got this warehouse, but the super links could not go up the warehouse. Again, it was a concerted effort from South Africans. From all over the country, South Africans got together, and this was the public sector component, bringing aid to that Checkers car park in Knysna. But we had a challenge. A superlink can't go up a car park. It's too heavy. What happened? Civil society, corporates, individual persons, and within few minutes, a whole row of 4x4s came and parked off and said, do you need our help? What can we do? We said, we have one more challenge. We don't have a forklift. Across the road, SPA said, take the forklift. And the forklift came from SPA, loaded the goods from the trucks into the bakkies upstairs, and the rich guys who own houses in Knysna said, the house is burnt, but we have other houses, it's not a problem. Just tell us what to do. Again, I admire the humility of South Africans. These were MDs, CEOs. They didn't say, I'm so clever, I've got an MBA, I'm an actuarial scientist, I'm a chartered accountant. All they said is, tell us what to do. The people who directed them were 2 women who don't even have a university degree. And those people followed instructions to show what South Africans can do together. The NGO sector, the religious sector came and said, we can help. And within a short space of time, 20,000 families were assisted with food parcels, hygiene packs, sanitary pads, diapers, and all those kind of items. Then people came and said, what about the cat and the dog? So I said, what about the cat and the dog? They said, whilst you're feeding the people, the cats and the dogs have no food. Corporate company responded, and within a few hours, we have 30 tons of pet food. The cats and the dogs had a party. They had never seen that kind of cat food and dog food before. And then there was another request. What about the animals? They said, do you know why the fire was so big? There was a drought in Nizana. So the sheep, the dog, the horse, the cow, the pig, all were hungry. The animals in the wild, an elephant in the park. I didn't understand anything about fodder. I said, just tell us what we must get. And of course, we supplied that to everyone. The point I'm trying to make is that as South Africans, we need to remove the ego and we need to work together in the interest of the people of Niza. As one example, the same thing happened in Georgia last week. And whilst we were doing that, somebody came to the warehouse and said, I didn't get sugar. So I asked my team members, why didn't you get sugar? So he said, he's right, the sugar is finished. It's coming from Checkers just now. So he said, it's not for me. So I said, then who's it for? Your neighbor? He said, no. It's for the bees. I said, this guy is drinking too much. What is he talking about? I said, look, I don't understand what this guy is saying. Just give him some sugar for the bees. I went away, and I said, no, this story is not complete. So I called him. I said, you better come back tomorrow. I need an explanation. So he comes back the next morning with 2 other people, and he says, you know that this fire is because of the drought. You know there's no plants. You know the bees couldn't eat on anything. In this fire, there were 300 beehives. Each beehive has 75,000 to 80,000 bees. We lost 22 million bees in the fire. The Cape honeybee is the most versatile and most resilient bee in the world. It is haploid and diploid. These are not my words. I know nothing about bees. There's a haploid and diploid, and they can make their own queen bee. And he said, you can understand what will happen to the flora and the fauna. So I said, that still doesn't explain about the sugar. So he said, in the absence of plants, you have a nectar pollen substitute, in the absence, which is very expensive. In the absence of that, we make a sugar solution to look after the bees. We brought in 30 tons of sugar to help the bees. Then he took me on site and he said, you got to see the bees. Ooh, I had to wear that bee outfit. Was I scared? Because I've been stung many times. He opens the box and then he starts screaming. I thought we were going to be attacked by a swarm of bees. I said, what is wrong with you? He said, the queen bee, the queen bee, the queen bee. He said, you don't see the queen bee in a hurry. Can you see it? They all look the same to me. I said, yes, I can see it. I don't know what the hell he was talking about. Any case, he said, this is a good omen, a good sign. We supported them with 300 new beehives, nectar pollen substitute, gave them money to grow new plants, 30 tons of sugar, and they set up a research facility. Up till today, university professors, students, and everyone goes to the site to see how bees are rescued and how to save bees all over the country. This is Nedbank likes green things, isn't it? Bee project, we did rehabilitation. Something else happened. I told you they asked for the food for the horse, the pig, the cow, and the sheep. Whilst we were there, we got a call from Sutherland. And they said the farmers in Sutherland are desperate. This is a story of faith, of resilience, of spirituality, and positivity. We asked, what's the problem? And the drought was big at that time. And the drought is still there. And they said, the drought has affected the sheep count. The prize merino sheep are in serious trouble. The count from 442,000 eventually dropped to 32,000. Farms closed, and then people lost their jobs. So some farmers shot themselves. They took the kids out of university. They couldn't provide food for them. They had to put the laborers off. They couldn't take the bakkie to go and fetch fodder because they had no money for fuel. The credit cards were maxed. The corporate didn't want to give them any more credit. The banks did not help them anymore. They were collapsing and they were crying. We spent, from 2017 up till today, 400 million rand to save the farmer, the sheep, the families, and the workers. When we started sending the fodder across, they were overjoyed. When day zero hit Cape Town in January 2018, by June the farmers called back and they said, we appreciate your help, but we can't go on any longer. And we said, now what's the problem? They said, all the boreholes have dried up. Fodder without water is of no use. We have to throw the towel in. We said, gift of the givers, we don't believe in that philosophy. For us, nothing is insurmountable. I sent in my own drilling team. We drilled 238 boreholes to provide water to save the sheep, to save the farms, to save the jobs, to save lives. Two years ago, finally, the sheep count, well, January 2022, the sheep count started climbing. One of the farmers that works with us, Jan and Sybil Fasahi, decided to put up a pellet-making machine. A pellet-making machine takes any type of fodder that's messed up, wet, to bad quality. To that, you add lucerne, maize, and molasses. And you make a highly energized, nutrified product like you have energy foods. And once we started feeding it to the farmer sheep count started rising. Then came the Ukraine war, and the maize price went up. And the farmers couldn't afford 5 rand extra on a bag. Again, they said, we're going to shut down. We have subsidized every bag up till today. So we've gone through it for 7 years, and we know the turnaround time will come. When you do CSI, don't look for short-term gain. Look for something that's sustainable, that has impact. When this thing turns around, agriculture and the GDP gets supported by 18.2%. The jobs created by farm workers taking care of their families also takes a huge social burden off the country. And we have to support them all the way. 7 years of patience and resilience. The turnaround has to come at some point. I couldn't stop in 2017. I couldn't stop in 2018. The job would have been half done and everything would have been wasted. And up till today, 200,000 to 300,000 rand at a time, we are still funding to make sure that this thing turns around. In 2018, of course, we got involved with helping Cape Town with boreholes and water intervention for day zero. Then came the big move into Eastern Cape in 2019. Again, a very critical decision. Makanda was in serious trouble. We got calls from the municipality, from the citizens, from the university to say there's a serious problem with the dams in Makanda. They said, we need your help for 3 days. We're there for 5 years already. Had we not intervened, Makanda is a university town. If people didn't come to the university would have closed. All those conferences they have at Settlers would have closed. All the franchise shops would have closed. All the bed and breakfast would have closed. The entire town and Alice and everything around them would have closed. A total massive loss of jobs. All it required was the intervention with boreholes. We put in 5 boreholes in the university. We put in a massive borehole in a school called Nsika. It's our super borehole in the country. Produces 1 million liters of water a day. We ran pipelines into the townships called Kailicha and the other areas, and we put in altogether 15 boreholes, including at the SAPS, at the SPCA, at the dog unit, in other schools, and at Settlers, to make sure that the town survives up till today. That was a huge intervention. Corporate South Africa, unfortunately, up till many years ago, was only interested in ticking the register, getting a tax certificate, and getting some write-up or some coverage by Sheldon and other media. Your projects were not very effective. They had no social impact. They were there to tick the register. But something changed. In 2020, when COVID happened, corporate South Africa, the mindset changed. Not the CSI. I'm not saying the CSI was important, but the CEO and the MDs of companies started calling. And they asked, and they said, forget the media coverage, don't worry about tax certificate, just tell us what you need and how much do you need. We need to save our people and we need to save our country. That sentiment has been running for 4 years now. We supported 210 hospitals in the country during COVID. We put in 5,000 oxygen machines, 12,000 scrubs, surgical gowns for the various theaters. We even put in food for the patients. We supported the healthcare workers with mental health support. We put in additional staff. We brought in oxygen points. We put in special high-flow nasal oxygen machines. We brought in other types of machines. We did infrastructure upgrades at hospitals. We made dedicated COVID wards. We put in boreholes in Rahima Musa and Helen Joseph and in other hospitals in the country, many in the Eastern Cape, simply to save life. But we couldn't do that without corporate South Africa. No questions asked, just do what you have to do. Came the civil unrest in July 2021. People understood it was not an insurrection and neither was it a riot. I'm not going to that now. But civil unrest came in 2021. The corporates were quick off the mark. Within 72 hours, everybody was calmed down. Again, we worked in a very different way. Gift of the Givers prides itself in buying the items ourselves, loading our trucks ourselves, offloading ourselves, taking it to the areas ourselves, and distributing it ourselves. With so many hundreds of thousands of people hungry in KZN, that system was never going to work. We partnered game reserves, hotels, companies, NGOs, people on the ground, sports people. They came with their trucks, or we sent our trucks. We didn't pre-pack everything in our warehouse. We sent the items in bulk, and they pre-packed, they took people, nobody was working. Everybody was available, but we took trusted people. We're in this business for 32 years. We know who we can trust and who we can't trust. We've been to every corner of this country. We knew exactly who to work with and who not to work with. Again, South Africans came together and peace was brought into the area immediately. 11 April 2022, the floods hit KZN. 5 o'clock in the evening, the water rose in Tonga 8 meters in 45 minutes. We were expecting everybody to call us. We want boats, divers, helicopters, rescue people. No such calls. The only calls we got up till 1 o'clock in the morning was from corporate South Africa. What do you need and how much do you need? When you have that kind of support, when you have that kind of humanity, we can't fail as a country. We need that spirituality, we need that compassion, and we need that care. Yes, make money. I'm not saying don't make money. Make much money. But making the money, understand there's a share for those who don't have. You see, we have a teaching. What you don't spend is not yours. So I can give all of you 2 billion rand this afternoon. My only question to you is, how many lives are you going to live to spend that money? You're not going to be able to spend that money. There's a point when you say, enough is enough. The enrichment of the soul comes through giving help to others, quietly, in a dignified way. You can't understand that unless you do it yourself. I'm doing this for 34 years, 32 years from Gift of the Givers, and 2 years before that. So I know exactly what I'm talking about. Now we have new challenges in the country, post-COVID. Number one, severe mental health challenges. In healthcare workers, 2 billion people in the world are affected by that. We don't have enough psychologists in this country. Where should you be putting your money? Training psychologists and funding the psychologists once they're at work at schools and universities and in the public, because the government doesn't have the budgets. There's a temporary budgetary constraint right now, which will get sorted out in time. You see, we can't keep saying the government is corrupt. Government doesn't corrupt itself. Corporates have a huge role to play in corruption and overpricing. We need to be very, very careful about pointing fingers. Government is not corrupt. There are corrupt people in government. It's very different. Like corporate is not corrupt, there are corrupt people in corporate, and in mosques, and in churches, and in synagogues. We have them everywhere. And in NGO sector, we have them everywhere. Don't take it away that everybody is in the same picture. We need to understand there are good people who want to make the system work. And we need to harness those good people and encourage them and say, this is what we have to do. So, what covered itself? Psychologists are in short supply of psychologists. Universities don't take too many. The second major problem that we have is catch-up surgery. Waiting 8 to 10 years for a knee operation or a cataract surgery. We got involved in yesterday in Cape Town. We wiped out the entire backlog of cataract surgery. We did the same for Victoria Hospital. They all came to yesterday. But it sounds very simple, cataract surgery. Let me make it to you a bit more understandable in terms of the emotional impact. A wife takes out a bandage from the eyes after surgery. She looks at the husband and says, "You're gone old." The husband also had cataracts. He takes off his bandage. He looks at the wife and he says, "You're gone old too." 8 years. 8 years, the husband and wife could not see each other. Love, life, romance, happiness, 8 years gone. How long does a cataract operation take? 8 minutes. They waited 8 years for something that takes 8 minutes. We should stop complaining. Only rich people complain. We need to change our system and be grateful for what we have and put back whatever we can into help those who cannot help themselves. Catch-up surgery is huge in this country. We have the competent, dedicated healthcare professionals who want to do it. They need the support. So catch-up surgery is a huge field. Psychologists is a huge field. The other big field, which I'm calling out corporates in South Africa, we need to fund registrars in the health system. The government has frozen all registrar posts. That's a total disaster. Registrars train medical officers and doctors below them. They get their training from registrars. Registrars do the research. Registrars become consultants. Registrars carry the entire health system. If registrars are not there, the system is going to collapse. You're going to get litigation. You're going to get improper care. You're going to have lack of dignity. We need to fund registrars. How much does it cost? 900,000 rand a year. What is 900,000 rand for a corporate company? Let's be honest. But you need a commitment for 4 years, because it takes 4 years to become a consultant. The registrars or those who want to train are even willing to take a knock to take 600,000 rand, the salary of an intern, because they want to serve our country. These are the committed people we need to hold their hands. We need teachers. The teachers are getting old. But more than ordinary teachers, we need teachers with special education needs. My wife went into a school called Tamil Protective Association School, TPA in Pietermaritzburg, doing her internship there. She studied over years because there were lots of bumps on the road. And finally, she became a counseling psychologist. The moment she walked into school, she came back, she said, there's a huge problem. 171 kids in the school have learning disorders. You can't cope with normal kids in a class. How can you cope with kids with learning disorders that come from fragmented, broken homes? We put in psychologists, teachers with special learning disorders. We upgraded the toilets. We upgraded the classrooms. We provided food parcels, and we provide full support to that school. One example. Don't have to do 100. And all we have to do is replicate the process. So, education, schools, teachers, special education needs, and toilets. Kids cannot go to the type of schools. It's indignified to go to toilets like that we're seeing in our country. We're putting them throughout the country also. You need to spend money on that. Don't think this is not fancy. It doesn't look macho. It doesn't look great. It doesn't matter how it looks. What matters, it's what difference it makes to the life of the people in this country. If you were in that school, if your child was in that school, what would you expect? Put yourself in the position of those people and don't worry about fancy look and how it looks for the image or what kind of marketing you get. Forget the marketing. Do what is right. And then, of course, the hunger in the country. And I'm going to finish off here. There's lots of other projects. But focus on health, education, the water, which is a big requirement, and hunger. I'll give you the final example. 6 August last year, coinciding with our 31st anniversary, we get the sad news that a mother has killed her 3 children and killed herself in a Tobelo village in Butterworth. What's the story? She had no food, no means of income, no support. She borrowed some money from the neighbor. Neighbor gave the money and said afterwards, I need the money back. The mother didn't have the money. She had rat-X. She put rat-X in the food and she killed 2 children. She didn't have enough food, but she had additional rat-X. So the child couldn't eat the food, the 3rd child, a slightly bigger child, She puts a knife into the child and kills the child. And then she hangs herself. Now, you are mothers, and you may even be grandmothers. When a lady is pregnant, what is the attitude to the child in the womb? Ultrasound, take your iron medication, take your vitamin Bs, go for your checkup, check the blood pressure, urine sugar, proteins in the urine, kidney function, infection. Let's check all those things out all the time. When the child is born, breastfeeding, who stays awake at night when the child is sick? The mother. When the child is in the public sector, when the patient, the mother has to take the child to the doctor, takes that kumbi across a broken road, what potholes, waits in the queue to get the taxi, goes through bad weather, gets to the outpatient, waits the whole day, 4 o'clock it closes, doesn't see the doctor, sleeps in the bench, it's freezing cold at night, no food, no water, no support for the child and the mother, but she waits in that hospital. The next morning, the child gets seen to, she waits for the medication, she goes home. Come to school, she gives up her luxuries, school shoes, uniform, bag, lunchbox. A lot of kids don't have lunch and lunchbox. And she does everything possible for the sake of this child. Which mother is going to put red text in the child and a knife in the throat? Only desperation can make you do that. I've seen children die from starvation in countries. It's a horrible sight because it's a very, very slow death. Ladies and gentlemen, corporate South Africa, we need to build this country together. The government can't do it alone. 7.4 million people, Texas can't look after 65 million people. It's impossible. And a lot of those 65 million people were disadvantaged pre-94. They never got the skills. They never went to university. They were not taught entrepreneurship. We got to solve the problem now. If you take this country and give it to the Canadians, the British, the Americans, the Germans, and the French, and said, have it for free, they'll say it's impossible. We can't fix it. 7.4 million people, Texas can't look after 65 million people. We have to add the difference. Corporates, individuals, in our own capacity, family, friends, let's do it ourselves together because we could have been on the other side. And I finally finish off for the last message. You see, in Islamic teaching, we have a concept, it's called barakah. Barakah is an Islamic word meaning blessing. That when you do something with sincerity, when you go out of your way to help somebody, when you give without worrying, then God gives back multifold in abundance out of his blessings and his bounties and his mercies. We will all feel that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great country. Make it greater, standing together. Thank you very much.